Ladies and gentlemen, David King, come on. Founder and Chief Training Consultant of Story Boss Academy.
In the mid-1800s, during the gold rush era, there was a countryman who caught wind of the opportunity, moved all the way to California, picked up a shovel, and began digging, and digging. Now, he was so relentless because there was a hope of becoming rich that he didn't stop until he heard ding! He uncovered the ground and discovered a precious metal known as a shining ore. Now, what he did was he quickly covered it up, go back to countryside, gathered his family to share with them about this discovery he had made, and also raise funds so that he could buy machinery to accelerate the extraction. Now, back then, during the gold rush era, it didn't necessarily mean the discovery of gold, but also the discovery of precious metal. And so in this case, he discovered shining ore. Now, coming back to California, as he was digging the ground, he managed to extract 1 car of shining ore. He brought it to the smelter to be evaluated and discovered it had a lot of value. Now, he immediately thought to himself, all I need is to extract a few more cars of shining ore. I'll be able to pay off the debt, and the rest is money, pure profits. I'd like everybody to imagine for a minute, you had just discovered something that could change your life forever. How would you feel? Super excited, shocked. And that was exactly what he felt. And so he went all the way back to California and began digging with that heart full of hope, thinking that he would be rich. Here's the thing. As soon as he started working the ground, he also started to discover that the tap of shining ore quickly ran dry. In this belief, he kept working the ground again and again, doing the same thing he used to do, and still, he wasn't able to extract a single ounce of shining ore. In fact, all he extracted was a whole bunch of disappointment. Seeing that extracting was impossible, he immediately made an assumption that this is not going to work. He made an assumption that the shining ore had run out. Guess what he did? He gave up. He said, I'm going to quit. He brought the machinery to a nearby junkman, sold it at a fraction of the cost he had paid for, went back to his hometown, and spent the rest of his life paying off the debt. Now, you would think that the story ended here, isn't it? But what ended with the junkman what ended with the countryman began with the junkman. You see, this junkman wasn't any ordinary junkman. He was smart, he was resourceful, and he definitely knew that there was something to benefit from this whole situation. He wasn't really ready to listen to what the countryman said about this opportunity. He wanted to find out for himself. And so he engaged an engineer to survey the land. And to his joy and surprise, he discovered that the place at which the countryman had begun digging had a fault line. And his opportunity, which is the shining ore, had moved 3 feet down. In other words, what we're saying here is this. 3 feet is almost like 1 step. If the countryman didn't make an assumption that it was impossible despite doing the same thing again and again, seek for expert advice, he would have been the one to be rich. And yet in this story, there was an unexpected twist. Instead of the countryman being rich, it was the junkman. Now get this. Isn't it scary to know that we could be so close to an opportunity and yet miss out on it just because of the way we think? Now, today I'm not so much referring to all of us who are here. I'm referring more to the customers that we meet every single day. Every day, all of us here, we carry a pen, a paper, and a plan, presenting opportunities to customers to help them with their retirement, presenting opportunities to customers to help them protect their income, if something unexpected happens. Presenting opportunities to our customers to help them plan for their children's education. And yet, how valuable these plans are, many of our customers take them, throw at them, at you, in objections, as if they mean nothing. How many of you can resonate with that? Maybe you might be able to relate to one of your customers, which could be like the character here in this story, the engineer. Now, think about this for a minute. Of all the 3 different characters, do you know that the engineer is the only one that knew exactly where the shining ore was? If it was you, what would you do? Yeah, it's strange to think that although he knew exactly where the shining ore was, he didn't want a part in the opportunity. He was happy with getting the fees he was given. Customers like these are also known as the satisfied customers. And often when you present opportunities to them to help them achieve their desired outcome, they say, I don't need it. You might be able to relate to the second type of customer, which is played by the countryman. Somebody who once upon a time believed in financial planning and maybe in investments, but over a course of time, he tried to work things out on his own. Maybe he got burnt. And when you present an opportunity to them to help them achieve their desired outcome, they say, I don't believe it. How about the third type of customer? A customer that we all love. The perfect customer. In this story, the young man saw the opportunity and seized it. Oftentimes when we present opportunities to customers like that, they will not say, I don't believe it. They will not say, I don't need it. But they will say, let's do it. How many of us here would love customers like that? Can I see a show of hands? Don't we all love customers like that? But we know that it is few and far between. In fact, a very large number of customers fall under this category where they say, I don't need it or I don't believe it. A study that was presented, or rather a report that was presented by SMU towards the end of last year shared that 50% of Singaporeans have some sort of financial plan, and 28% of them don't have any financial plan for their retirement. Can you infer which ones are the ones that are satisfied and which ones are the ones that are assuming? Another report presented by Today this year shared that close to 50%, get this, of Singaporeans think that they do not have enough financially if they contract cancer. Now, clearly, there's a huge opportunity for all of us this year to reach out to people and help them take one step forward. But in order for us to do that, it requires that you have it requires that you achieve one key criteria, and that is your ability to work around the objections that they throw at you. Industry studies show that individuals who are able to effectively handle the objections that are thrown at you, sales professionals will be able to see a 20% to 40% increase in their sales. How many of you want that this year? Can I see a show of hands? All right, I want you to turn to the person beside you and say, you've come to the right place. Today, I hope to share with everybody simple strategies that help you understand the psychology behind why people say no. And despite saying no, how do you help them take one step forward towards the opportunity that all of you present to them? We're going to be using the acronyms G, P, and S. G stands for go beneath the surface. P stands for present an alternative value. And S stands for start from the inside. I'd like everybody to imagine this with me. Today is my 10th year wedding anniversary. Okay, naturally when I wake up in the morning, I'll give my wife a hug and say, baby, happy 10-year anniversary, I love you, and I'm so happy to be married with you for 10 years, right? And she reciprocated by telling me the same thing, darling, I'm so happy that I got married to you, and I could have never imagined being with anybody else. Now, I see some of you are laughing because your 10 years never do it, is it? Okay, I'm still very loving to my wife, okay? So we've been married for 10 years, I would still do that. And on top of that, she would say this. She said this, tonight I'm going to be preparing a dinner for all of us, right? It is the dishes that we used to love to eat, but we have not eaten for a very long time. Now, naturally, when I heard it got me very excited. So she then asked the next follow-up question, what time am I going to be back home today? I said, 6:30, the usual time. Then she said, okay, right? So I'd like everybody to imagine this with me. The whole day transpired as normal. While she's busy at home preparing for the meal, and I was at home, at work, doing the usual. Suddenly, 5 p.m., my boss called me into the office to tell me something bad had gone wrong. I'm about to lose a key customer that's worth $7 million, and I better do something about it. If not, I might lose my job. Now, because of the urgency of the matter, I left my phone on the table, went all the way to the boardroom to settle this. Now, how many of you know that in an intense moment like this, time just keeps ticking, and it ticks very fast? Now, as I'm fighting fire over here, my wife at 5:30 drops me the first message, because usually I take about an hour to reach home. So at 5:30, she drops me a message to say, are you on the way home? No reply. 5:45, the next message, is everything okay? Are you on the way home? No reply. As you can imagine, the text message started to mount up with each passing second. And yet, with all those messages, there was no reply. Wives in this room, if you had husbands that don't reply your messages on a special day like this, how will you feel? Something had gone wrong, right? And yet, during this whole time, I was inside the boardroom trying to fix the problem that had happened. Now, it's so serious, right, that if I lose this account, I might even lose my job. Thankfully, we managed to resolve the problem, but as I exited the boardroom, I noticed that in my office, the sun was about to set. Instinctively, I knew I had passed the dinner deadline. I quickly rushed to my table to see my mobile phone and saw that it was already 7 p.m. There were 30 missed calls and 25 missed messages, all from the same person. Guys, if your wife drops you so many messages and phone calls, you know that tonight is the last day you will live. Okay? There will be this godly fear that comes upon you when you see a message like that. So as I quickly rushed out from the cemetery, the office, right? And I made my way back home. I tried to call her and text her as many times as possible, but she didn't seem to reply my text messages or call. Now, to make things worse, it was the after office hours. So what normally took me an hour to reach home, this time took me an hour and a half. 8:30, outside my house. I pulled out my key card to scan my digital lock, opened the door, walked into a dark house. The lights were dim, table was empty. It confirms your assumption that you're going to die. In front of my gaze, I see my wife sitting down on the sofa, watching television with her arms crossed in front of her. I then walk closer to her and say, baby, I'm so sorry for today. Shall we celebrate the rest of the day? She then folds her arms, looks at me, and says, what time is it right now? Don't you know that today is our 10th anniversary? I know that some things in work could have happened unexpectedly, but would dropping a text message to let me know be so difficult for you? I've already eaten my dinner. And if you want your dinner, it's inside the kitchen already. Go help yourself with it. I don't want to celebrate our anniversary anymore. As a husband and the breadwinner of the family, hearing something, an accusation that's thrown at you, although you had no control over it, at this juncture, you have two choices. One, choose to die. Two, choose to live. All right, first response, defense. Don't you know that I was busy working? I tried to text you and to let you know that I was going to come back home late, but you didn't pick up your call, you didn't pick up the text message. What do you expect me to do? Moreover, the meeting ended so late, I was caught in the middle of traffic and I couldn't make it back home in time. Couldn't you just give me the assurance by replying my text message to let me know that you're okay? I've tried everything, you know. What, do you expect me to lose my job? Who pays for the bills here? And who paid for your Chanel bag? First response. Second response. Walks in from the house to a dark room, through the door into a dark house, seeing the wife sitting in the corner. She turns around to tell him how unhappy she was. He looks at her and says, and smiles and says, let me take a quick shower first. He goes to take a shower. And guys, I think the reality is that for those of us who are married, we're still discovering different aspects of our wife. And so, as this had transpired, I'm thinking to myself, what could be the reason that she's upset? And as I was showering, I came to an irrefutable conclusion that the only reason why she's upset is because I mean a lot to her. And this 10-year anniversary was so important to her. Guys, can you imagine this? She has spent the whole day, preparing dinner. And at 6:30, as if her husband couldn't tell her that he was coming back late, despite multiple calls and text messages, he didn't respond. How would you feel? Now, with this sudden revelation from heaven, right? He approached her, sat beside her, put his hands beside her and say, darling, you have every right to be upset. If I were you, I would be upset myself. Whatever happened today is not an excuse, although it was unexpected. I want you to know that you mean more important to me than my job. I could lose my job, but I can never lose you. So how about this? Because you already cooked dinner, and I'm late, I'll eat 2 portions of what you cook. And after we are done, can I take us out to a very nice supper location where we will celebrate what is left of our anniversary? I'd like to invite everybody to let me know. If you were the wife, which response will be more favorable towards me? Response number 1 or response number 2? Number 2, why? Now, it's because the husband didn't respond to what she said. The husband responded to what she meant. How many times when our customers throw objection at us, our first response is to defend, to justify, not realizing that every time we defend or justify, their guard goes up. And there is no way we can get to them. Instead, the right response would be to understand. And so right now, I'm going to share with you the first step into crushing the objections that are going to be thrown at you through 2 key parts. The first part is whenever a customer throws an objection at you, your first step is to take a step back and ask yourself, what do the customers mean by what they just said? The second step is to express empathy, because expressing empathy drops the guard down. The only way you can influence them to take 1 step forward is if they have built trust with you. Does it make sense? Now let's put into something more practical. One of the most common objections thrown at you is, your critical illness plans is so expensive. How do I know? Towards the end of last year, I got one for myself. And my consultant is sitting somewhere here. I wouldn't mention who she is. But honestly, that was the first thought that came into my mind. So what would you say if a customer throws this objection at you? The first step is to understand what they mean. And oftentimes what they mean when it refers to price is, I do not see the value in paying more. Then your next step is to lower the guard by making an empathetic statement. And this is a statement you can make. It makes sense not to pay more if or when you do not see the value. Can you see, just by saying this, how you drop the guard? Make them feel safe. In exchange, they give you their trust. So this is step number 1. After you've helped your customer build trust with you, and they feel comfortable with listening to what you have to say next, then your next step is extremely crucial. This brings us to our step 2, present an alternative value. When I was growing up, I don't know about you guys, but can I see a show of hands? How many of you hated vegetables? Okay, it looks like not many of you. Truth be told, I think children generally hate vegetables. So for me, whenever my parents want to bring vegetables to me, I will use my right hand to push it away. And they did this consistently. Every single time I'll push their hand away. One day they got smarter and they realized that they had to change their strategy and offer an alternative value. So what they did was they turned this spoonful of goodness into an aeroplane. And every time the aeroplane comes in for the landing, I will inevitably open my mouth to let the aeroplane land. I knew that I was eating broccolis or vegetable, and yet I still took it. Why? It was because it was presented in a way that mattered to me. Big question is, if this works for children, all the mummies here, would you agree that this method works for children? Yes? I see Madalena shaking her head. Yeah, agree. Yeah? But the big question we heard here really is, if it works for children, does it work for adults? Did you guys know that Singapore has the second highest incidences of diabetics by proportion in the world? What many of you may not realize is that diabetes causes poor blood circulation. So that's why if you know of individuals who have diabetes, or maybe you have yourself, you always try to watch where you're walking, because all it takes is for one cut or one blister and you might lose your limb. Now, here's another painful statistic. Individuals who have unilateral or bilateral, above knee or below knee amputation, usually live a maximum of 2 years. Why? Because they lose the will to live and they don't want to live anymore. Their body just shuts down. Can I ask you guys, if you were given an opportunity to resolve or address the root of this issue, would you do it? Save lives? Save limbs? Now, when I was given the opportunity, I did exactly what you guys said. I said yes to it. Back when I was in medical sales, I was given a portfolio that would help individuals with diabetic foot heal their wound. And so the product that you see on the screen over here is a treated fish skin, and many of them are salmon skin. And all you had to do is to put them over the wound, especially for diabetic patients, right? It improves the blood circulation, and patients get to save their limb. Patients get to save their lives. Isn't it a good product? Yes? What do you guys think? Is good or not? How many of you know that just because you have a good product doesn't mean your customers will line up to buy it? I'm going to be sharing with everybody here a conversation with a customer that I had. He's the head of department for one of the hospitals here in Singapore. And I'm going to share this dialogue we had via text message on how we've managed to get him from saying no at first to saying yes. But as I show you on the screen, would it be okay with everybody that if you're taking pictures, you do not share on social media? Yeah, because it's a private conversation that we had with each other. Okay? But I want to show you how this strategy works. Now, giving everybody here a context of the conversation, I started off by telling him about how the outcome of this product is able to position him as an authority in the industry. Okay? And then naturally he asked me, David, what's the name of this product? I had no choice but to tell him the name of the product, although I always try to avoid it during sales. So after sharing with him this product, this is how the conversation transpired. His response, objection to me immediately was, we don't have much experience in this product, and price was the biggest issue. Now get this, it's a product that could accelerate wound healing, and yet the openness to receiving the product at first is not so good. Now, training has taught me that I need to first take a step back to ask myself, what does it mean? And in this case, like all price issues, it's always that they don't see the value in this product. Now, sharing, based on the first step that I shared with everybody just now, my first step was to make him feel comfortable and make him feel that I understand where he's coming from. And so this was my response. I can understand that it's not uncommon that you think this way. I want everybody to imagine this. If you were the doctor, would this statement make you lower your guard and feel like I can be trusted because I understand where he's coming from? Yes? So now, at the point at which he has trusted me, right, is the point where it's important for me to present an alternative value. So step number one in presenting alternative value is to pivot the conversation into another point that's important to him. Now, I must stress that this part is extremely important because it is not a fixed solution. Meaning, you need to be able to present the solution in a way, or the alternative value in a way that matters to your specific market. Sandwich generation, retirees, busy working professionals, all of them have different things that they value. You need to know your market. So this is what I said. What do you think if we could do a skin graft trial? This addresses directly to his concern about cost. Because in a skin graft trial, they pay little to no money. On top of that, to help him with the experience, I will be there to assist him in the whole process. So I stacked two different values together, but I didn't just stop there. I sold him a dream. I believe in my product that it could help people so much that I told him this. I shared that if this product, when this product is able to help him heal wounds, it will position him as an authority, and it will give me an opportunity to bring him up to my global office where they would be able to get him as a key opinion leader. And this gives him global exposure. So this is how the conversation went. I can see that should the results be favorable to the patient as planned, I believe it will drive your credibility in restoring chronic wounds. And we would also be able to partner you as our key opinion leader that could give you greater reach and medical insights influence regionally. Now, for those of you who serve doctors here, one of the key things that they love, right, especially government-based hospitals, is that they always have a plan to go private. And when they have a plan to go private, regional exposure is important to them. So after pivoting the conversation by presenting an alternative value, then you want to give the control back to your customer, because you want them to feel in control of the whole process. And this is where I verify by asking the customer, what are your thoughts? Can you see by just going through this simple process, by making them feel comfortable, by proposing an alternative value, it makes them reconsider and possibly make them take one step forward to the opportunities that you present to them. So here's the thing. After sharing this text message with him, I had to wait for 2 hours. But 2 hours later, he said, okay. Now, this made me happy not because I was able to sell a product. This made me happy because I knew that the best product was going to help your family and mine. In executing this step, we need to look at two parts. The first part, earlier in step one, we already spoke about empathy. This drops the gut, right? It makes them feel comfortable. In return, they give you their trust. Then you move on to pivot, where you present an alternative value. After presenting the alternative value, you want to give them a sense of control by verifying if they would like to proceed. Going back to the example that we spoke about earlier, the most common rejection that you guys face is, one of the most common objections is, your critical plans are too expensive. Meaning, I don't see value in paying more. Showing empathy is saying it makes sense not to pay more when you don't see the value. Now we transit into presenting an alternative value. Most of my customers who went ahead with this plan appreciate that we cover more critical illness diseases compared to what other plans have. I have to attribute this to my consultant who shared this with me. In addition, to ensure that all our clients' claims are processed fast, which is essential during any unexpected medical event, we've invested on a robust system to make that happen. Can you see how this builds trust with your customer? And then you want to give the control back to the customer by saying, can I show you more about what I mean so that you can make the best decision for yourself? Today, I've taken the liberty to do something for everybody. I really want all of us to be able to help customers who don't see the opportunity that you present to them. And in the process, I hope you'll be able to increase your sales by up to 40% this year. And so I've consolidated 25 common objections that your customers throw at you and strategies on how to respond to them. Are you guys ready? Can I get you to whip up your phones because it's a QR code where you just have to scan and download that file onto your phone. Ready? 10 seconds on the screen. Let's go. Yes, just for you, I can show again, yes. Yep, sorry. Okay? All right. So if you already downloaded it, can I just ask that we refer to it in a while? Is that okay? I'm coming to the end of today already. All right? So now, we've spoken about first step, which is go beneath the surface. Second step, present an alternative value. And now the third step, which is the most important step, is start from the inside. In fact, I would say that this step is the one that underpins the two different steps that we mentioned about just now. Growing up, I had a chance to know Junior very well. And Junior was somebody who always had visions or dreams of becoming somebody great or doing somebody great, being a doctor, being a lawyer, or a pilot. And oftentimes, if he had a song that could represent how he felt, would be something like this. Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world I'm gonna make. And then he will go to sleep. Among all the dreams that he has had in his life, there's one vision that meant a lot to him. At the age of 14, he had a vision of himself standing in front of a very large crowd. Now, back then, a part of him didn't really believe it because although he was very loved, he was a very insecure kid. Standing in front of the stage would freak him out. But yet, a part of him wanted that. How many of you know that life's opportunity sometimes comes to you in a glimpse? And many of you are sitting in that opportunity today. That was what it was like for Junior when he was 14 years old. But here's the thing. There were events that happened in his life that made him feel that this opportunity would never happen. Growing up, he wasn't good at his studies. When he finally started corporate life and he knew he wanted to speak and train for a living, every single company said no. In his 20s, he got married, but ended it at 28. It was a life that seemed very unsuccessful to many people and even to himself. And with each failure, it seems that the desire or the belief that his opportunity can happen slowly started to diminish. But none created a greater impact than what happened to him in 2008. He had just arrived back from a trip from Taiwan, and his friends wanted to buy him a birthday meal in the evening for whatever is left from his birthday. So from the picture you can see, after picking up his friends, he was just driving past here. And for those of you who has been to Chom Chom, almost a few seconds later, there's a car park on the right side. Is that correct? As he paused to make the right turn into the car park, a moment of lapse caused him not to see a car that's speeding in the opposite direction. Just crossing a few centimeters away from the middle line, his car came into a head-on collision, tearing the front part of the car wide open. Airbags fully deployed, car turned backwards, came to a screeching halt after it hit the car directly behind him. In his car, as you can imagine, he was in shock together with his friends, and they slowly felt out their body to see if any bones were broken. Thankfully, he only escaped with minor scratches and cuts. As much as they were thankful that they lived, Junior knew that his life had come to a screeching halt. And at this point, the vision he had of himself when he was 14 seems like something almost unbelievable. A part of him starts to object it. I can never achieve that. My life has been filled with so much failures. And this is the thing. Ever since 14, because he had that vision, he thought he had to be a perfect person. But he didn't realize that life is not perfect. We just need to get up fast enough when imperfect things happen. And just at this point, where he thought about giving up and objecting the vision that he had, he heard a voice inside of him telling him, one more step. It doesn't matter what had happened in the past, all the mistakes and the failures you have had. One more step. Ladies and gentlemen, Junior is none other than myself. Ever since I took that one step forward, thank you. Ever since I took that one step forward, my life changed. It was not long after that I had opportunities to serve individuals at different capacities, teaching and speaking. And before 2003, my largest crowd, the largest crowd that I got a chance to serve and impact was 1,000 people. And I remember watching a movie where this guy prayed and told God, and said, God, it's so unfair that you give me a vision that I would stand in front of a big crowd but not be able to give me that vision. I can still remember very vividly in a night in my home after watching that movie. And it didn't take long after that this happened. In 2003, I was given an opportunity to share with 7,500 financial consultants on how to sell more without selling harder. And all of that started with one step. Today, one of our leaders, I believe it was Alvin, that mentioned very aptly, 1%. You never know the value of that 1% that could change your life forever. Are you objecting to your own success? Maybe you are like the engineer that we spoke about this morning. You're satisfied with where you are, and when the opportunity is presented in front of you, you say, I don't need it. Maybe you're like the countryman who has had failures after failures. When you try to move from Mdrt to COT or COT to TOT, you felt that it's extremely difficult. How do I know? Because I watched how my consultant did it, how she achieved COT for Mdrt, and it's not easy. But maybe because of continuous failure, you make an assumption that it's not possible, and you start to reject the opportunity.
like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion, like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. All the things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my head, I will scream them out tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. Yeah. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. Will you? I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. I still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing friends and chasing sleep. Everybody's afraid. Sound familiar? I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years and I miss my home. But fire burning in my bones. I still believe. Yes, I still believe. All of the things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my head, I will scream them out tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. Yeah. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. I still got a lot of fight left in me. Do you? A lot of fight left in me. You know what? I'm going to invite everybody to sing together with me. Okay, as just singing, I want you to commit to your success in 2024. I don't know what kind of background you came from, or what kind of situation you're going through, right? Or the challenges that you're going through. All you have to do is just to take one step forward. One more step. Why you turn to the person beside you and say, one more step. Alright, so to kick it up a notch, I'm going to transpose it outwards, alright? Are you guys ready? This is my fight. You guys sing. Take back my prove I'm on. Yeah. My powers starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. You see, I've still got another fight left in me. Do you believe it? Another fight left in me. Yeah. A lot of fight left in me. And that is how one Mdrt sounds like. Cause every night you lie in bed, the brightest colors fill your head. A million dreams are keeping you away. You think of what the world could be, a vision of the one you see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world you're gonna make. Thank you, Mdrt. It's been a pleasure serving you today.
Thank you, David King. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you love this man? What a brilliantly talented man. Can we have everyone, all champions in the room, make some noise for this man? Come on, David King. Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, and this will bring us to the end of the Mdrt Day 2024.